Anthony Travis, thanks for joining us on the Illinois channel. And for the purpose of letting the viewers know, we're going to be talking about a constitutional amendment that the Illinois voters will be seeing on the ballot this November. Amendment number one, it is a pro-labor amendment. And you have been doing some research into this. I should also mention you're a school trustee in one of the school districts here in Illinois, and you have some problems with it. So we wanted to talk to you about why you have problems with it. And I would also add that I think this is an issue that has received very little attention in the news, and I think most people are unaware of it. So tell us, if you would, what is the amendment, what would it do, and what problems do you have with it?
Well, the amendment is set up or designed to give workers more rights than management or municipalities or even the state government or township government. In other words, the workers will have all the rights and management will have none and taxpayers will have none. And that's one of the key issues. And what taxpayers need to understand is that workers already have rights under the law. And if you enshrine stuff, as we would say, codify stuff into the Constitution, you would create the same problem that we have with the pension crisis, Article 13, Section 5, where you cannot diminish or impair workers' rights or their benefits. And so our position, as I represent the coalition, the Citizens Coalition to, the Citizens Coalition to Save Illinois. And what we have to understand is that how can you give the workers all the rights? And I get back to the committee that I represent, the Citizen Advisory Coalition to Save Illinois, that grew out of the task force that I and my colleagues served on for the governor for tax relief, property tax relief. And so both political parties in Springfield decided not to stand up and say to the unions that we don't need this in Illinois. The workers have all kind of rights. They have the labor board. They have a contract. They have the courts. And if you codify their rights into the Constitution, labor policy, that is, into the Constitution, that means that something went wrong. The government cannot fix it. The workers cannot fix it because they would need a constitutional amendment to give the authority to the legislators to fix labor policy.
So as I understand it, the thing is, there is already the right to have, union rights to negotiate a contract. That already exists in Illinois. Illinois is not a anti-union state, but the unions push this, and there were people in the legislature of both parties who voted to put it on the November ballot. I believe 11 of the 18 Senate Republicans voted for it. All Democrats voted for it. In the House, I believe all Democrats voted for it. and there were also some Republican votes in the House for it. Now, we might note that Illinois already has the second highest property taxes in the country. You just said that one of the things you had been working on as a member of a task force was to get the property taxes down. Everyone in Illinois who's a property owner knows that we pay exceedingly high property taxes. What is your opinion? Before I even go there, I should say we already have these rights for the unions in Illinois, but now the unions are pushing to make this part of the Constitution. And to kind of rephrase what you just told us, pensions are also high in Illinois. They're very high, and that's one of the reasons we have high property taxes. And the reason we can't adjust the pensions, because the pensions are going broke, but the reason we can't adjust the pensions to save the pensions for the retirees and to save the taxpayers from being taxed out of their homes is because there is a clause in the Constitution of Illinois. And we want to make sure we're talking about the Illinois Constitution, not the United States Constitution.
Absolutely.
There is a clause in the Illinois Constitution known as the diminishment clause. You gave us the section earlier, and the
Article
diminishment.
13, Section 5.
I'm sorry, say again?
Article 13, Section 5.
Right. So that's the diminishment clause, which says that pensions cannot be diminished. You can't lower them once someone starts getting them. And that has caused all kinds of problems, leading to the current situation in Illinois, where it is estimated that the unfunded liabilities within the system, and that means, that's a fancy schmancy term to say that the amount of money we are obligated to pay retirees that we don't have the money for, is estimated now to be at about $340 billion. So I think what you're arguing is the unions already have the rights. They want to put this into the Constitution, and that you would be arguing that that would create another roadblock that would handcuff the legislature from being able to make any kind of adjustments that, as a democracy, we sometimes need to make here and there, and that it should be allowed for the legislature to vote on an issue and not have it blocked by having public policy be settled by putting it into the Constitution. Is that a summation?
That is a good summation. And what we have to understand here in Illinois is that in order to fix the pension crisis, you must have a constitutional amendment. In order to fix what's wrong with the school districts, you must change the rules. Now, under Article 12, Section, I think it's Section 7 or Section 5
of the Illinois Constitution.
Yes, the legislators can go in and they can consolidate, liquidate, and bring about the much needed reform that we need to take the 856 school districts, cut that down to 50. Same thing with the 102 counties we have. That should be cut down to 50. When you think about the fact that Florida have 20 million people, they have 76 school districts.
And Illinois, with about 12 million people, has over 800 school districts. And so every school district has a superintendent, it has an assistant superintendent, and these are people making often six figures. And so all of this adds up with a lot more bureaucracy and taxpayer-funded not only employees in these school districts, but then we got to pay for their pensions.
Right, and
Now, let me make a different analogy. You offered a good analogy there. Let me make a different one. We just had the legislature reform criminal justice. Now, a lot of people are critical of that. But let's say we said, we had the 3 strikes and you're out. 3 strikes and you go to prison forever. And let's say we wanted to, 10 years later, go, well, wait a minute, that's not fair. We could change the law so that was no longer the case. But if we put 3 strikes and you're out in the Illinois Constitution, then we couldn't change that in the future.
That's right.
Unless we had to pass another amendment to the Constitution to change that first amendment. So this makes it far more difficult to manage our democracy, far more difficult for us if, we now have a major change in society. Gay people are not ostracized as they were in years past when you and I were growing up.
Yes.
We now have gay marriage in Illinois. But what if we had put it in the Constitution back in 1960 when you and I were little kids, that gay people should go to prison? And if you wanted to change it in the legislature, you wouldn't be able to change it unless you passed another constitution. I'm just trying to make it clear for the people when you put public policy in the Constitution, it then makes it exceed, you tie the hands of all the people that come after us.
Yes.
And attitudes change and situations change. Maybe we'll be at war 10 years from now with China. Who knows what will happen, And because we don't know what will happen after you and I are gone, we ought to have, in a democracy, the ability of legislatures to manage the issues during their time in office, whether it's 2010, 2020, no one saw this pandemic coming, or 2050. I think I'll stop there, but I just wanted to have, a lot of people don't think about this, the problems with governing as you and I tend to do.
Right. I think you hit the nail on the head, Terry, because people need to understand there is a difference between making a policy law than putting a policy into the Constitution. By having a policy placed into law, you can always go back and amend the law. But once you codify it into the Constitution, you cannot go back to the Constitution and make changes unless you have a constitutional amendment whereby the people in Springfield vote to put it on the ballot, and then 6 months from then, we have an election for the citizens to vote it up or down. It's something as critical as the WRA1 amendment should have never came out of Springfield. They should have stood there in the well and dealt with that issue and told the labor people, look, we support labor, but this issue should remain in labor policy and not the Constitution.
I believe I'm right that you yourself have been in unions yourself, right? A member of a union.
Yes, I'm a union person. I've been a union steward 3 times. But what union people need to understand, just because the union bosses push something, don't make it right and don't make it sound for taxpayers or union workers.
Let me go back to a point I started to make, but I wanted to clarify that difference that we've now, I think, made clear about the problem with making a constitutional amendment. what I wanted to say is you had been working on property taxes, as we
Yes.
discussed. And everyone knows that they are high, and they're pricing, especially elderly people living on Social Security, they're getting priced out of their homes that they may have wanted to stay in the rest of their lives. So, what impact would this constitutional amendment, this pro-labor union amendment, if it were part of the Illinois Constitution, what impact might that have on property
Well,
taxes?
it would cause property taxes to go up, and there would be nothing taxpayers could do about it. Once the property taxes go up, because once you put benefits into the Constitution, they cannot be diminished or impaired. So if they decide to give the workers a sweet contract, perks when it comes to retirement benefits, somebody's got to pay for that stuff, and that's taxpayers. So once they raise your taxes, it's nothing. It is nothing taxpayers could do about it.
And I know people should understand that if they're renters and not homeowners, it could also impact the cost of their rent, because
Yes.
if it drives up the cost of the apartment house to the apartment house owner, to the landlord, he's going to have to pass those costs on to those paying the tenants paying their rent.
Yes,
Anthony,
that is so true.
I know you from talking off camera, you're kind of just getting ramped up. If people want to learn more, is there any source they can go to at this time to either find out more or join whatever coalition that you're putting together?
Yes, they can join our coalition, Citizen Advisory Coalition to Save Illinois. They could get in contact with me at 773-988-0934. We have now decided to meet by Zoom the fourth Wednesday of each month at 7:15, so that we can get everybody organized to vote no for the WRA1 amendment.
So give us the name of the organization again, so if they want to go searching.
The Citizen Advisory Coalition to Save Illinois.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, listen, we'll let you go. Thanks so much. I'm sure we'll probably do a lot more coverage on this issue, as it will be on the November ballot. But so between now and the November election, we'll try to shine a light on this issue. As I said earlier, I don't think very many people have covered this in the press as yet, and probably this might be the first time people are even hearing about it.